The metallic clang of locker doors echoed Max Lou's own internal dissonance. Each slam was a punctuation mark on the silent taunts that followed him down the sterile, linoleum hallways of Northwood High. He was Max Lou, the quiet kid, the one who tripped over his own feet and whose glasses were perpetually smudged. And, more recently, Max Lou, the kid with one arm. 4 months ago, a careless accident on his bike had changed everything. Now, his left sleeve hung empty, a constant, embarrassing reminder. The bullying had intensified, morphing from the usual jibes about his awkwardness to crueler jabs about his missing limb. "Where'd your other arm go, Lou? Did you trade it for a brain cell?" Addison Miller, the self-appointed king of Northwood High's social hierarchy, had sneered just that morning, his posse of sycophants snickering behind him. Max had kept his head down, his jaw clenched, wishing he could disappear into the worn fabric of his jeans. But beneath the veneer of quiet resignation, something was stirring in Max. It wasn't anger, not exactly. It was a fierce, burning curiosity, a desire to reclaim not just his physical capability, but his autonomy. And that curiosity had found its unlikely muse in the humming, whirring world of robotics. It had started with a forgotten robotics club flyer, tucked away in his backpack. He'd joined on a whim, hoping for a distraction. Instead, he'd found a sanctuary. While others struggled with soldering irons and circuit boards, Max found himself drawn to the elegant logic of mechanics, the precise dance of gears and sensors. He devoured online tutorials, pored over schematics, his imagination igniting with possibilities. His parents, worried but supportive, had noticed his newfound dedication. His dad, a software engineer, had tentatively brought home a small, desktop 3D printer. Max had initially been confused. What did this noisy plastic spitting machine have to do with robotics? Then, a spark. He remembered seeing someone demonstrate a prosthetic limb being 3D printed. A sudden, exhilarating thought took root. Could I? The idea was audacious, bordering on insane. Building a prosthetic arm. He, Max Lou, the kid who couldn't even tie his shoelaces with one hand. But the thought persisted, growing stronger with every late-night coding session and online forum he scoured. He started sketching, not just the robotic arms he'd seen online, but his own design. He wanted something functional, something he could control, something that felt like him. He spent weeks poring over open-source prosthetic designs, meticulously studying the mechanics of human movement. He learned about actuators, servos, and the complex interplay of muscles and tendons. He sketched out intricate joint designs, debated the best materials for flexibility and strength, and learned basic CAD software, his brow furrowed in concentration. His bedroom transformed into a makeshift workshop. The desk, once buried under textbooks, was now cluttered with spools of filament, tiny screws, and wires. The air hummed with the faint scent of heated plastic. He'd wake up before sunrise, eager to get to his printer. The rhythmic thump were a soothing counterpoint to the anxieties of the day. The first prints were failures. A finger that wouldn't grip, a wrist joint that jammed, a forearm section that cracked under the slightest pressure. Disappointment was a constant companion, but it never extinguished the fire. Each failure was a lesson. He learned about infill density, support structures, and crucial temperature settings. He learned to iterate, to refine, to never settle for good enough. Lucy Chen, his only real friend in the robotics club, watched his transformation with a mixture of awe and concern. She was a whiz with circuits, her nimble fingers capable of coaxing life from the most stubborn components. She'd often find Max hunched over his laptop, his eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep, explaining his latest design with a passion she'd never seen him display before. "Max, you're pushing yourself too hard," Lucy would say, handing him a lukewarm can of soda. "Are you sure about this Frankenarm project?" Max would just grin, a tired but victorious smile. "It's not Frankenarm, Lucy. It's Phoenix. Because it's rising from the ashes of my old life. He'd started printing the arm in segments, each piece a testament to his growing skill. The palm was a marvel of articulated digits, designed to respond to subtle muscle twitches in his remaining arm. The forearm housed a miniature battery pack and the necessary servo motors, all neatly organized within a 3D printed housing. He chose a sleek, matte black filament, wanting it to look less like a medical device and more like a piece of high-tech equipment. The day he finally started assembling the pieces was a blur of nervous excitement. He carefully connected the wires, his heart pounding with every solder. He secured the servos, tightened the screws, and then, with trembling hands, he attached the finished forearm to the socket he had painstakingly designed to fit his residual limb. It was heavy, solid, and undeniably his. He stood in front of his mirror, his one good arm resting at his side. He took a deep breath, focusing on the phantom sensations, the subtle signals his brain still sent to his missing limb. He willed his fingers to curl. And they did. A slow, deliberate clench. The black digits of his new prosthetic hand closed around his palm. A gasp escaped his lips. It was crude, far from perfect, but it worked. He could feel a faint vibration as the servos whirred, a tangible connection between his will and the machine. Tears welled in his eyes, not of sadness, but of pure, unadulterated triumph. He'd built this. He, Max Liu, the bullied kid, had built his own arm. The next day at school was different. Max walked with a subtle shift in his posture. He wasn't hiding his left arm anymore. He wore a long-sleeved shirt, but as he navigated the hallways, he kept his left hand loosely by his side, a silent challenge. Addison, predictably, noticed. His eyes narrowed as Max approached. Well, what's this? Lou's got a new accessory? Is that supposed to make you look tougher? Max stopped. He met Addison's gaze, a flicker of defiance in his own. He didn't respond verbally. Instead, he slowly extended his left arm. The black prosthetic hand opened, its fingers splayed. It was an unspoken declaration. I am more than what happened to me. A hush fell over their small audience. Addison blinked, taken aback by Max's uncharacteristic boldness. He'd expected Max to cower, to retreat. What's that thing? Addison sneered, though a hint of uncertainty crept into his voice. Max brought his prosthetic hand closer, his fingers flexing. It's a prosthetic arm. I built it. The words hung in the air, heavy with disbelief. Addison's posse exchanged uncertain glances. Lucy, who had been watching from a distance, let out a small, triumphant smile. You built that? Addison scoffed, recovering his bravado. No way. You probably bought it online. Some cheap piece of junk. Max's jaw tightened. He knew the temptation to lash out, to engage in the usual schoolyard skirmish. But the Phoenix arm was about more than just defiance. It was about reclaiming his future, a future he saw clearly in the world of robotics. He walked past Addison, his head held high. He didn't need their validation. He had his own. The robotics club meeting that afternoon was electric. Max unveiled the Phoenix arm, explaining its intricate workings to the captivated members. He demonstrated its grip, its range of motion, the way it responded to his subtle muscle movements. It's still a prototype, he admitted, his voice steady. There are improvements to be made. The battery life, for starters. And I want to integrate some haptic feedback, so I can actually feel what I'm touching. Lucy was already sketching in her notebook, offering suggestions for sensor placement. The other club members peppered him with questions, their faces alight with genuine interest. For the first time in a long time, Max felt seen. Addison, however, lingered by the doorway, his arms crossed, a scowl etched on his face. He watched the scene unfold, the undeniable admiration directed at Max. It gnawed at him. He was used to being the center of attention, the one with all the skills, the one everyone looked up to. Later that week, in the school cafeteria, The inevitable confrontation occurred. Max was enjoying a quiet lunch, diligently sketching a new design in his notebook, when Addison and his crew approached his table. "Still playing with your toy arm, Lou?" Addison said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. He deliberately knocked Max's notebook to the floor, scattering his sketches. Max flinched, a surge of familiar anger rising. But then he looked at the scattered papers, at the intricate designs of gears and circuits. He saw not just his hard work, but his future. He wouldn't let Addison ruin it. He calmly bent down, his prosthetic hand surprisingly adept at picking up the fallen pages. As he gathered them, he spoke, his voice quiet but firm. "This isn't a toy, Addison. It's a tool. And it's taking me places you wouldn't even dream of." Addison laughed, a harsh, dismissive sound. "Oh yeah. And where's that, the nerd convention?" Max stood up, his remaining hand gripping the pile of sketches. He met Addison's gaze, his eyes clear and determined. "To the future. To a place where people are judged by what they create, not by what they lack." He turned and walked away, leaving Addison and his bewildered followers behind. He didn't run, he didn't shout. He simply walked, his prosthetic arm swinging gently by his side. The incident, surprisingly, sparked a change. Some of Addison's usual followers began to distance themselves, embarrassed by his petty cruelty. Others, intrigued by Max's quiet resilience and the undeniable cool factor of his 3D printed arm, started approaching him with questions, not of mockery, but of genuine curiosity. One afternoon, Lucy found Max in the robotics lab, meticulously calibrating a new servo in his prosthetic arm. "You know," she said, leaning against a workbench, "you could win the state robotics competition with this. They have a category for adaptive technology." Max paused, his brow furrowed in thought. He hadn't considered it before, too focused on the immediate challenges of perfecting the arm. But the idea took root. A competition. A chance to showcase his work on a larger stage. "Maybe," he said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "Maybe we can." The state robotics competition was a whirlwind of activity. Teams from across the state showcased their intricate creations, from agile autonomous vehicles to sophisticated robotic arms designed for intricate tasks. Max, with Lucy by his side, presented the Phoenix arm. He explained the inspiration, the design process, the challenges he'd overcome. He demonstrated its functionality, its smooth articulation, its responsiveness. He spoke with a confidence that surprised even himself, no longer the shrinking Violet, but a young innovator with a clear vision. The judges, a panel of engineers and tech industry professionals, were impressed. They asked probing questions about load-bearing capacity, motor torque, and potential upgrades. Max answered them all, his passion for robotics evident in every word. Addison, who had somehow managed to get himself into the competition with a rather uninspired drone project, watched from the sidelines, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. In the end, Max didn't win first place. A team from a rival school had built a more complex robotic manipulator for industrial use. But Max Liu and the Phoenix arm received a special commendation for innovation and design, along with a scholarship offer from a prestigious university's engineering program. As the award ceremony concluded, Max stood on the stage, holding the commendation plaque. The applause washed over him, a wave of validation he'd never thought possible. He saw his parents in the audience, their faces beaming with pride. He saw Lucy, her eyes sparkling. Later, as they packed up their equipment, Addison approached him. Max tensed, expecting more mockery. But Addison merely extended his hand, his own, uninjured. "That was pretty impressive, Lou," he mumbled, his gaze fixed on the metallic fingers of the Phoenix arm. "You actually did it." Max hesitated for a moment, then grasped Addison's hand. The prosthetic's grip was firm, controlled. "Thanks, Addison," he said, a genuine smile finally breaking through. "It's just the beginning." As they walked out of the competition hall, the setting sun casting long shadows across the parking lot, Max felt a profound sense of peace. The journey had been difficult, marked by pain and humiliation. But it had also been a journey of self-discovery, of resilience, and of the incredible power of human ingenuity. He looked down at his prosthetic arm, the sleek, black machine that had become an extension of himself. It was more than just a replacement limb. It was a testament to his perseverance, his passion, and his unwavering belief in a future he was determined to build, one 3D printed piece at a time. The whispers of bullies had faded, replaced by the hum of possibility, a symphony of innovation that promised a future far brighter than he had ever dared to imagine. That will be all for today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. Goodbye.